So everyone has those days where they just can't be bothered to get on their bike and cycle, and you know, the weather is not always perfect here, and I don't know, sometimes I'm just having a lazy day. So what's the next best thing? Well, public transport. Like, public transport here, I think, is pretty damn decent compared to what I'm used to in the UK. And I got reminded of it when I flew back for the weekend, getting the train back from the airport. You just have to expect delays. It was delayed both ways, trains were a mess, we had to change stations, and it's just, oh. But here, obviously it's not perfect, nowhere is perfect, however, things just seem to run a little bit smoother. So I thought I'd kind of talk a little bit about public transport in Denmark, and more specifically in Copenhagen, because obviously that's where I've had the most experience from. So I guess I could start off with the buses. So the buses are the same everywhere, big yellow buses, but you do get different types of buses. I've spoken to Danes about buses before, and the kind of general consensus is that they really like buses. They find them a bit dirty, a little bit not that nice, but I think they're pretty clean and tidy and pretty big as well, so you can fit a lot of people on them. And they have like 3 doors, so you have one at the front where you get on, and then 2 at the back where you can get off as well. So they're easy to figure out. And then you've got different types of buses, which I hope I've got this right. So you've kind of got the yellow ones that are just like your standard buses. You have the A buses, which are like red, and I think they run like the most frequently. They basically stop at like every stop, and they come like pretty frequently as well. So they come, I guess, like every kind of 4 minutes, which you miss one and you're like, for goodness sake, and then like one turns up not long after, so it's really not a problem. Then you have the S buses, which are blue, and these are like, I call them like the speedy buses, because they don't stop at every stop, and yeah, they're just super quick. So if you're in a hurry, try and find where your nearest like S stop is. Mine's literally only just up the road. And then you also have the N buses, which are grey, which are like the night buses, and so obviously they only run at certain times in the night. I think that's everything. If I've missed one of them, let me know. And obviously the buses are yellow, but they've got the colour and the letter on them, so you know which one is which. You basically just have to think of Copenhagen as a grid, and wherever you're standing, facing the bus going in that direction, just think of it as kind of going pretty much straight in the opposite direction. And then it's like a grid of networks with buses going like cross-cutting each way. And then the buses also have a lot of the stops tell you how long it is until the next bus rolling over, and like pretty much every stop has that. Not all, but a lot, which is obviously really useful. But here they're really regular and they're on time, so they're really useful. And then in Copenhagen specifically, you have the metro. Now, I really like the metro. The downside to the metro right now is it's only got 2 lines, M1 and M2. They both go to Vandøs, and coming from it, one goes to Lufthavn, the airport, the other one goes to Vestamager, which is, yeah, obviously just down the other side of Amager. They're super quick, usually on time. They're driverless, which is kind of fun when you're in the tunnels, because you can look out and see the tunnels. And they run 24 hours, which is awesome compared to the underground in London, which isn't. However, it is changing this year. If you're on one of the stops where both lines run from Vandøs to Christianshavn, they're pretty regular, like every 3-4 minutes, but then obviously when they split, it's kind of every 4 to 6 minutes. So again, it's really regular, and I now, in my most recent apartment, I live really close to a metro station, so it's super handy, which is probably why I am tempted not to ride my bike as much. And then the metro is expanding. Like, if you go anywhere, you will see big green, like, I don't want to say fences, what do I want to say? Big green walls, I guess, everywhere. Like, and basically, if you ever see the big green wall fenced off, it's a new metro that's coming eventually. I used to live next door to where a metro stop is going to open, which is obviously kind of noisy and a bit distracting. And for example, Nyhavn is the big touristy spot, and you kind of pop up at Kongens Nytorv to go to Nyhavn, and there's just this huge big green wall, so it's kind of a shame. Been like that the whole time since I've been here, and will be until I think 2019 now. But once it's finished, there's going to be like a new circle line, which will be so useful, going to all of like the big neighbourhoods and the city centre. and then there'll be another line I think as well, but I don't really know much about that one. But anyway, so then if you're not on a metro line, at the moment they have the S trains, which is kind of like an overground metro, I think. And I used to live near an S train last year, so like, even though I didn't have a metro line, it's pretty easy to go to an S train. And oh, that's something I didn't mention. So on S trains you can take your bike as well, and on the metro you can for most of the day. But you have to buy a ticket for your bike, so it's going to cost you, whereas it doesn't on the S train. And you can't take your bike on the metro, I think it's between like 9:30 and 11 in the morning, and then something like 3:30 to 6 or something in the evening, you know, rush hour times basically, which makes sense. So the S trains are like big red trains, and they run again really regularly, and they go all the way up to, oh, I can't remember off the top of my head. It's wherever Bakken is. Up north, and then all the way down to like Cooge in the south, or further, I can't remember off the top of my head, it's been a while since I've taken an S train, and they run through the central station. Yeah, they're really big and comfortable, and they have all the stops on them, and yes, there's also intercity trains, which I've only taken a couple of times, but yeah, they seem also okay. What I really like is they have these little double-decker trains. I've only been on one once, but this is not something we have in the UK, but I really like it. I don't know why, I think it's just the novelty of having a double-decker train. Yeah, and on time, you know, and that's the good thing. They're usually on time, which is so unlike the UK, which is just delays and problems and comfy kind of leathery seats or leather-like seats. You get chargers as well, so you can charge your devices if you need to. Settings and stuff, which you can plug your headphones in and stuff, and you've got a light, and it's almost like what you get given on a plane, but on the trains. Yes, and ferries. I've taken twice, once to Samso, which I have a video, and so there's a little bit of ferry footage from there, and then once to Germany as well. Yeah, ferries were okay, a little bit like, I don't know, 90s feel, a bit aged, a little tired, but still nice and fairly reasonably priced, and it's all really good. And the good thing about the public transport is it's all, apart from the ferries, you can basically use this, which is what I've got, which is the bicycle, which is actually trying to be rolled out kind of more widely. And so basically when you ever see a big blue spot on one of the public transports, you literally just tap it, top this up, like it's like an Oyster card, top this card up, preload it with money. You can do it online or at one of the stations, and then you just tap in and tap out. And what's also really handy is, well, you can only do it in metro stations and train stations, I think, but you can put more than one person on this, and kids, and because they're obviously cheaper, tickets, and your bike, you can top this all up on here. Now this was free, I ordered this online, and you get your own like personal card, so I didn't have to pay anything, but you can pick one up in a station and it'll cost you about 80 kronas, but they're really handy if you're just travelling, like not every day. Now, if you travel every day, you can buy zone cards, so you can buy for a month, you can pay for how many zones you use. Yeah, so the city is completely zoned. I'll try and include a zone map, and obviously the amount of zones that you cross, the more you'll pay, and that's pretty simple. Now, most of the inner city is within zones 1 and 2, maybe 3. Sneakily, the airport is in the only thing down south that's in zone 4, in kind of the main city of Copenhagen. So yeah, it calculates how many zones you've passed. Now, yeah, so if you want to travel every day, you can buy like, oh, I'm only travelling by 2 zones, so you can buy a month's worth of 2 zone ticket and just show it. If you're coming to the city for maybe a weekend or something, you can buy a ticket for however long you want to use public transport for, so you can get one for 24 hours, or when my friends come and visit for the weekend, you can get one for 72 hours, and it's only 200 krona. Now I believe they still have clip cards, but they're phasing them out, so you used to be able to buy like 10 trips for the price of 8 or something like that, and then you clip it in a little yellow box that they have at the stations. However, they're being phased out in preference of this. Oh, one thing that does bug me about this though is with an Oyster card in the Underground in London, you tap in and tap out and go through barriers, so you have no other choice. You have to go in and out, and you can't get out unless you tap out. However, with this, you don't, and there's been If you forget to tap out, you're going to basically be fined, and I have done it before, so it's kind of like if you're in your own world and you forget to tap out. So just make sure you look for a big blue circle and tap yourself out. Also, the good thing about this is you can change transports as well, and it still like counts. So what you do is take the metro, tap in, for example, and then you want to get on a bus. You leave the metro, don't tap out, but tap in again on the bus, and then when you leave the bus, tap out, and it will calculate where the zones that you've crossed. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you have any your own comments and experiences, let me know. What's public transport like in your town? Leave me comments, always love to read them, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.